All right, Marks. So you saw the title of the video. You know what this is about. We've been waiting for this for decades, and it's here, and we've played it. There are spoilers in this video, so if you have not played the game or you don't want to be spoiled, I encourage you to click off and then come back once you've finished. Couple things. First off, I'm not going to sit here and berate the game. I'm not going to sit here and, eat its ass out or anything like that. There was definitely things I loved about it. There were a couple things that I didn't. I was gonna kind of chronicleize through the whole thing, but I'm gonna talk about the thing I didn't like first. Not because I want to rage out, but just because it's so disappointing. Chapter 18. I'm not mad for a lot of the reasons people might think. I'm angry because they have gone in this game to great lengths to make it known that they are going to change the game. I feel like this entire first game was set up for us to know by chapter 18 that the game's going to be different later down the line. It's just the ending to this game is very convoluted and bloated, like Square Enix likes to do with Final Fantasies. This game has the exact same problems that Final Fantasy 15 had at the end and Final Fantasy 13 had at the end. Final Fantasy 13 had it throughout the whole thing. Look, I'm not a hater of Final Fantasy 13, but I can see a lot of the convoluted garbage that 13 had in this game, like the convoluted storytelling at the end. So, with that being said, my feeling is that throughout this whole game, what it all boils down to is that the Whispers are the Final Fantasy VII fans. They want the entire game to kind of play out as it did in the original version, and I didn't go into that wanting that. I did want them to stick to the basic main point and add some things and maybe change some things and make it. I mean, I even said in my thoughts on Final Fantasy VII Remake review that I wanted them to make the story make a little more sense because truth be told, in the original Final Fantasy VII, it was a broken story. So I wanted them to fill in the gaps. There's a lot of fill in the gap stuff here in this game. But I just feel like the Whispers are like the Final Fantasy VII fans who are like, yes, this is what we want. This is exactly what we want. And they're the ones progressing Destiny or the storyline to where we want it to go, which is where it was. I didn't mind the little minor changes that they made, and I definitely didn't mind much of the additions that they made. But then there's Aerith. And it's no secret, I'm not a huge fan of Aerith. And throughout this game, she was basically the personification of Square Enix in this game, where she's basically like, we have to fight Destiny. We have to do our own thing. We have to make it so that, we control our destinies, not the fans, which are the Whispers or the arbiters of fate or whatever the heck those stupid things were called. And I just feel like they went to great lengths to shove it down our throat that they want to change this game. And as I said, I don't mind that so much. I hate the fact that they shoved it down our throat like John Cena in the mid-2000s, late 2000s. Oh, last week. So anyway, okay, so that's my biggest gripe with the game, is the end. And as I said, I didn't think it was a terrible end. The fights were fun. A lot of that stuff. But I just, this whole Kelvin timeline thing, like from Star Trek that they're doing with this, they're like, and even at the end, they had a quote that said, "The unknown journey continues in the next part," or whatever. And it's just like, come on, guys. Like, you're trying really hard to tell us that after this point, you're going to do whatever the hell you want, and we have no choice in the matter. And I'm not saying I don't like it, but I'm just saying I have an issue with it because I don't want the game to be verbatim the same, but I also don't want them to go full left field on it and, completely change it. What they did in this first game is exactly up until the end of the highway with Motorball was exactly what I wanted from this game. It was expanded. It was changed a little bit here and there to make more sense, but it was great. And as I said, if the game ended at the end of the freeway with Motorball, and I guess you could fight like Genova or something like that there to kind of be the final boss for this game. You know, they had to end a final boss in there that wasn't Motorball. I understand that. I get that. But this whole fate and arbiter of destiny and yada yada, way too bloated. Okay, so I've already gone on to that way longer than I wanted to. It's been 5 minutes, so I understand that. I thank you for keeping with me. I want to talk about all the great things I loved about this game, and there's a lot. So I'm going to try to kind of make it through this as fast as possible. So at the beginning of the game, obviously the Sector 1 reactor mission, which we all saw in the demo, amazing. Everything looked so like it should, like a remake should. You were in it instead of it being like plastered walls in the background or JPEGs in the background and your characters running along the JPEG along the path. It's you are living in this place. You are walking through this place instead of kind of being outside looking in. So that obviously was amazing. Jesse, Biggs, and Wedge. I mean, come on. They expanded these characters so much, and you love them so much. Oh my god. Jesse was a little thirsty. I'll admit. I mean, I wasn't. That was a bit much, but still, Jesse, Biggs, and Wedge were definitely fleshed out. Definitely so much better. I mean, they gave them so much more to do in this than to just die, which we will also get to later. So after the bombing mission, you get to see the chaos in sector 8, and well, you didn't go on the sector 1 side, but you know, you blow up the sector 1 reactor, reactor 1, and then you get to see all the chaos and all of the damage that was done. And it's amazing. I mean, that whole sequence is amazing. You obviously get your first glimpse of Sephiroth there. I thought it was a bit early. Even for this game, I thought it was a bit early for them to start throwing Sephiroth in your face, but as I said, I know they had to do it. I know they had to kind of pepper him in there a bit just because, well, it's Final Fantasy VII, and you really don't get to see much of Sephiroth until the Shinra building where you see a sword in the president's back, and then you see him on the boat for the first time when you fight Genova. So, I mean, really, they kind of had to do this, but a little early for me. Sector 7 slums. Holy cow. I felt like it felt so alive. Midgar felt so alive in this game. And although it wasn't much of an open world setting like I wanted it to be, it was definitely just so much more than I could have imagined. And I mean, you didn't get to explore all the sectors. You were primarily sector 8 on the top plate, sector 7 top and bottom. I mean, you know, just but so far, and it's just like the slums in the sector 7 felt so alive. Tifa looked amazing, and I'm not talking about like hot and sexy wise. I'm talking like just she was designed so well. It made me believe that she was who she was, you know, like that she was Tifa. She was this larger than life character that I had always come to admire in this game. Tifa was always one of my favorites. She's a girl from the slums who grew up with Cloud, and I mean, Cloud is a character. It's amazing in this section. You do all the side quests and everything, and you have so much fun doing it. And I mean, it's just all the side quests in Sector 7 were great, kind of introducing you to this gameplay format and even just the world of Midgar. And you get a house. You get a house. Tifa has an apartment right next to you. But you know, and I mean, and this is probably explained later or done later, but you know, Jesse, Biggs, and Wedge, you also get to see their houses in this game, and that's really cool because you don't get to see where these people live in the original version. You just kind of think they live at Seventh Heaven's secret basement. You know, a lot. So that whole section was just amazing. Jesse, Biggs, and Wedge are amazing. Tifa and Barrett. Oh my god. Okay, so let me talk about Barrett here for a second. They did this character so much justice in this game. Barrett is, I mean, in the demo, he was like a Hulk Hogan character, a hype man, screaming, and the planet, can you hear it crying, and yada, yada, yada. But when you get back to Seventh Heaven and you see Barrett with Marlene, It is definitely one of the most heartwarming things. And as I said, I mean, it is a little over the top, yes. But I mean, look at Barrett. He's got a gun for an arm. Of course he's going to be over the top. But they did Barrett, his character, so much justice in this. Back in Sector 8, when they're, Barrett's a true blue leader. When they're leaving and they're going out into, the Sector 8 area, he gives them the pep speech about, this is, there ain't no getting off this train. And that's his famous line, but it's the truth. I mean, Barrett is the leader of Avalanche in this game, whereas before he was just kind of like, kind of the leader, kind of a bully more. Um, they do a little bit of expansion on the Johnny storyline, which is good because I didn't even know Johnny was a thing in the original until years and years later, until somebody pointed it out. Um, and then we get into, after that, the Jesse job, which I honestly loved. The whole motorcycle sequence where you're heading up to the top plate. You fight whatever is Kosh, I think his name is, crazy MFer. Um, I mean, that's cool because you get to see more of Soldier. I mean, it's not a lot, but it's more than what we've seen in the past. And as I said, my top 10 thoughts on Final Fantasy VII Remake is that I wanted to see more of Soldier, stuff from Crisis Core, whatnot. And it's just like, it, he kind of put an expansion on it. And it's actually funny because the Shinra soldiers feared this Soldier because they're just kind of off their rocker. Um, so that was really cool. The Jesse job was cool. You kind of get to see a little bit more of the expanded Avalanche group, because technically Barrett is just a member of a cell of Avalanche, and their group was deemed too extreme. So after the Jesse job, the Reactor 5 extension. Oh my gosh, whew, that was a long part of the game. Not because it was bad, but just because it took a while to get through. But the getting to Reactor 5 was a lot more in this game than it was in the original. And I mean, they have to do all this expanding to make it its own game, and I liked it. You got to learn a lot as you're going through there. You got to see how the underplate worked, and what Shinra does for the people of the slums. Um, Moving into the Reactor 5 mission, you get, the whole expanded airbuster fight, where, as you're leaving the Reactor 5, you get to kind of plot out how you want to fight Airbuster by taking and disposing of components. And I thought that was really interesting. I always love those little tidbits where it's like you have to kind of plan to make your boss fight a little bit easier. Um, Battles with the Turks, of course. Well, we'll get to them in a second. I kind of flip flop those on accident. The sector, after that whole fight and then Cloud Falls, you have Sector 5 and Sector 6. Sector 5 was amazing. I loved Sector 5. I loved the Leaf School. I loved that entire area. There were side missions there, which was awesome. Um, Aerith's house. Oh my god. Aerith's area, like her house area, was amazing. I may not be a fan of Aerith, and I mean, I'm still not really. But I mean, that just the whole sequence in Sector 5 with Aerith and Cloud and the expansion and all that was awesome. The Turk battles, which I kind of alluded to a second ago, I liked the battle with Reno in the church, which made a lot of sense. Later on, I liked the battle with Rude. It kind of expanded and gave a little bit more depth to the Turks, especially Reno and Rude. I mean, in the original game, they're just kind of following people around, and it gives them a little bit more. And I know we've seen them in Advent Children and stuff like that, but these two guys are, they're kind of following you at this point on. They're kind of following you throughout the game, and you have to kind of deal with them on and off. Sector 6, the collapsed expressway, and of course the Wall Market. Holy crap. Wall Market was amazing. It was everything I wanted it to be. The Wall Market was definitely one of those things that needed expansion as well as needed side quests. And I mean, they delivered. The Wall Market was amazing. Every dynamic, they added new characters to it, like Madam M. She might be a character in the original. I just don't remember, honestly. But the gym, the squats, of course. I mean, God, who doesn't remember the squats? Squatacles. Um, So that whole section, and I mean that took up a good portion of time, which was great. Tifa Barrett or Tifa and Barrett, no, Tifa, Aerith, and Cloud all have three different dresses, so you can have tons of different combinations of the ways that the what's it called, the choice contest, I don't know, can play out. Of course, the Corneo Cup. So I am a big fan of like the tournaments within games that progress the story. So like the whole Corneo Cup in this game was just awesome. It was fun. It taught me a lot about the battle system up till that point. Honestly, I hadn't really put a lot of effort into the battle system until that point. But it's once you get to the Corneo Cup, you kind of need to know how to do a lot of this stuff. And kind of started at Airbuster, but then once I got to the Corneo Cup, I really needed to dig into the battle system and like figure out what I needed to do. But it was a really fun part of the story. You get to do it with Aerith, so it's a little bit different. I know I'm jumping around a little bit in the Wall Market area, but sorry, whatever. If you're still watching, thanks. um, oh, and then the Honeybee Inn. Okay, so if there was anything else I wanted to complain about this game, it would probably be the Honeybee Inn dance off with Cloud. Okay, so before Cloud was a soldier guy, and a Shinra soldier, not like soldier. Before he lost his memory or adopted Zack's memories, or however the heck that worked, I, you know, I, was Cloud an exotic dancer or something like in Gold Saucer? Because I mean, I get it. It's supposed to be like a fun little mini game, but at the same time, it's like I didn't need all that. I mean, it was stupid. I was sitting there laughing the whole time because it was so stupid. But it was what it was, and I mean, you get to the cross-dressing scene, and apparently Cloud has mad beats dancing skills, yo. So yeah, Don Corneo's part was, of course, amazing, as usual. I mean, it's always that fun part of the game, and Cloud's given Corneo the business until Tifa and Aerith show up. I'm interested to. I mean, I know in the original game, Don Corneo can pick any of the three. He can either pick Tifa, Cloud, or Aerith. I think in this one, he just picks Cloud no matter what. I think. I might be wrong. I haven't really looked it up. But it seemed like no matter what, he was going to pick Cloud. And then Aerith and Tifa go down to the henchman room and just take care of them. So all that's all, of course, fun. And Don Corneo does his question, and they fall into the sewers, and you fight raps, and you explore an expanded sewers, which, holy crap, was a lot bigger than it was, obviously, in the original game. But that's throughout this whole game, which was a lot of fun. You get to the train graveyard, and that's when you start to find out about... Well, obviously, before that, you find out about the whole plate falling. So you're rushing through the train graveyard to get back so you can help them. You get back. The train graveyard expansions were fun. The ghosts and all that, and there's a little bit of lore behind all that they expanded on, which honestly I'm okay with. I liked it. I liked it a lot. Then you get back to Sector 7, and you're doing the whole plate mission thing, and this is where it hurts. I mean, kind of. We'll get into more of that later. So you have Wedge, who at the beginning falls. He's supposed to die right here, but he uses his grappling hook, and he stops himself for the most part, and then he falls and he hurts himself, but he's not dead. So this is the exact moment when I'm like, okay, we're going a different route here. I didn't hate it. I'm 50-50 on it. I didn't hate it. A major part of Barrett's story here is Biggs, Wedge, and Jesse dying on his watch. And that is where I have some of the issue with some of the stuff that's about to happen. So, all right, so you do the whole Sector 7 plate thing. You're climbing up the pillar. Biggs you think is dead. He dies right there, and well, you think he dies, and then Jessie dies. Well, at least you think she dies. And I mean, this is just one of those. I was dreading getting this moment because you expanded these guys' story so much. and now you kill them. And it's like in the original game, not I felt bad for him, but not so much. In this game, it hurt, and I was pissed. Like I was pissed. I was really legitimately pissed. I wanted to seriously beat the crap out of Shinra. So you get to the top. That whole thing happens. Sector 7 plate falls. Um, I mean, well, I mean, you fight Reno up there, and then you fight Rude. Sector 7 plate falls. You deal with all that. You think that Biggs, Wedge, and Jesse are dead. They go into a section that's a underground lab, which again, another expansion on the story. I don't hate, but there you find Wedge, who's alive again. He's alive again. So they just like Wedge is like the Kenny of this game. They like to try to kill him, and he just doesn't die ever. And not that I really want him to die, but it's just it's a part of Barrett's core story is he failed Avalanche. Biggs, Wedge, and Jesse were his team, and he failed them, and that's a part of what happened. And I mean, there was so much emotion running through that whole section of the game. So anyway, the underground lab was interesting. Expanded a little bit on the story of Hojo and all that, and you get the Wedge, and he's still alive, and yada yada. So there's all that, and oh God, I don't even remember. It gets so convoluted at that point. So a couple things happen, and then you start to climb to the top of the plate so that you can get to the Shinra building. I know I'm skipping a section where you go to the wall market and everything, and you go down into the sewers, and you're looking for Don Corneo, and it's kind of like, man, it's okay. It's a good addition. I didn't hate it. But okay, so you go to you climb to the top of to the plate so you can get to the Shinra headquarters. I didn't mind it. I thought it was great. I thought the expansion was great. The destruction and the mayhem just looked like what it would look like if a whole plate just fell on a sector. The slums were basically destroyed. So as you're climbing up, you have to fight the helicopter thingy that you fight actually in Shinra building. So I knew that wasn't going to be at the Shinra building, but you fight that and you get to the Shinra building. I chose to run up the stairs because I wanted to hear if Tifa called Barrett a retard. She did not. But it was still fun listening to them and, running up the stairs and yada yada, kind of like in the Ghostbusters movie. And, that was a lot of fun. I enjoyed the rework of the Shinra HQs, floors 60 through 64. I mean, it was just a good way to, instead of having all the mini games, you actually had more information given to you about Shinra, what their purpose was, what the future was, what the future of this game might even be. And so I actually kind of really enjoyed all that. Hojo's, then you get into like I think 65 to like 68, which is Hojo's Labs, and that felt a bit bloated to me. I mean, Hojo's lab was like 2 floors in the original game, and I get that, but it's like this whole thing in Hojo's lab, there were like not sectors, wards and stuff like that, and you had to go. It was parts of this game were expanded for good, and parts of this game was expanded for bloated purposes, and this part I really felt was bloated for not much of a reason at all, besides Crazy Hojo, and they needed some really sick levels before they. And as I said, I didn't hate it, but it was very bloated. I kind of found myself wishing it would end halfway through at about. I mean, it was pretty extended. So, and then we get to the infamous parts. A lot of the changes at the top of the HQ where you normally when you go up, President Shinra is dead with Sephiroth's sword in his back. Where in this version he's not. He's hanging off the edge. Barrett does the right thing, and he does the thing that that you thought he wouldn't do when he saved President Shinra. He wanted President Shinra to go on and to confess, everything that's been going on is of his doing and trying to frame Avalanche and everything. And you think that President Shinra has him, and then comes the sword. Sephiroth stabs President Shinra through the back as per the normal, and then Sephiroth stabs Barrett. And you're like, okay, not bad. Supposedly Barrett's supposed to die. Okay. Then the little whispers come in and save him. Okay. So basically, yes, the Whispers are Square Enix fans. We want Barrett to survive because that's what happened in the original. Fight Genova, whatever. I don't even remember what it was called. Genova something. You fight the vice president with Cloud, and Tifa saves your life, and then I didn't even talk about freaking Red in the Hojo section. So Red joins you as a non-playable character, which I didn't mind. It made sense because he's not in the game long enough to matter. So it was good to see Red. I was okay with Red being a non-playable character. I mean, he was very involved. I mean, it's not like he just sat around and did nothing. He was very helpful on a lot of points. And he actually had things to do. So he will definitely probably be a playable character in the next game, but it made sense for them not to have to develop a whole thing for him for the very end of this game. And okay, so I know I'm taking way longer on this one than I wanted to, but let's just finish it up. So they go down to the ground floor eventually. Barrett and Aerith have to face off against whatever that stupid thing is called in the elevator, but you actually face it at a floor. I think it's like the 65th floor or something like that, or whatever you have to face it. I don't remember what floor it was. Then you go down to the ground floor, and that's where the whole motorcycle thing happens with Cloud, and then Tifa's driving the truck. They all jump in there. We head on the freeway. Fun part. I mean, it's your typical highway fight scene, and you actually face Motorball. Isn't that his name, Motorball? Face Motorball on the freeway instead of in an actual fight at the end of the freeway. So that's a lot of fun too. Honestly, I liked it. I thought it was a great little change and made it more interesting of a fight rather than just a fight at the end of the freeway. So anyway, if we could have ended the game right there, that would have been great. So the Whispers then, of course, as you're towards the end of the freeway, or maybe it's at the end of the freeway, they try to encompass Midgar. And so if the Whispers are trying to make it, so here's the thing I don't get about this whole part is, okay, so the Whispers make a dome around Midgar so that the party can't leave. But if they're Arbiters of Fate and they're supposed to, and they're supposed to make fate happen the way it's supposed to happen, why would you want them to stay in Midgar? They're supposed to leave Midgar. So wouldn't you want them to leave? Wouldn't you, once they left, wouldn't you close off Midgar so they can't go back in? That's my whole question with that thing. Sephiroth thing, join me, Cloud. And Sephiroth says, never! And then they fight, and yada yada. And yeah, there's a fight with Sephiroth. There's a fight with 3 future versions of Cloud, Tifa, and Barrett. I don't. It was very convoluted, and it just wasn't for me. I knew they would have to do something at the end of the game. I just was hoping it wasn't that. Okay, so that's the game. I didn't actually expect to go into all that, but whatever. I liked it. I liked the game a lot. I would give it a 9.5 out of 10. Truth be told. I loved everything about it up till the very end of chapter 18, where they started this whole, after the motorball fight, if you could end the game right there, I would. I don't care if it's a bad end boss fight. I would do it. I would end it right there. So yeah, so 2 things I want to talk about at post game. Not even really post game. The one is hard mode, and the other one is new materia. So throughout this game, there was a bunch of new materia that showed up, and there's a couple of them that I jotted down. Just I wanted to talk about that are really cool, or not so cool. The chakra materia, which is a cool. It's a cool idea, especially with Tifa being a monk. It comes with her. I would love it if they expanded on that in the future games with Tifa about her studying under the monk Zangang and all that stuff. Magnify, which is basically the all materia. Magnify is a great materia, especially when you learn how to use it right, because I went through most of the game not realizing that you could equip it to your healing materia. So I basically had been missing out on heal all throughout most of the game. Wind, we have arrow. I mean, there's a 4th element finally. ATB, boost, and stagger. I mean, these were just interesting. I thought they were very interesting materials that were outside the realm of time and haste and slow and stuff like that. Like the, you know, where you can just, you know, use these status effects and boost things while they go along. Steadfast block was also interesting for ATB shenanigans. Uh, I mean, you know, while you're blocking, you take less damage. As you level it up, you take less damage and you gain more ATB charge as you're blocking. Auto cure. I cannot tell you enough how important auto cure is in the beginning of the game. Saved my rear end more than once. Great idea for, I mean, it's almost like final attack and cure ish, but it's a great materia. I really like that they added this one. Synergy, which is really interesting for this playstyle in this game because it basically tells you, you know, when I cast a magic and then you have that magic armed, it kind of does a whole synergy thing where it's kind of like a tag team move with magic. So that was very interesting. I enjoyed playing with that a bit. First strike, which was preemptive. Once I leveled that up, it actually was very helpful for trash mobs. And the pedometer material, like pedometer. If you have to arm this thing right away because after 5,000 steps, it transforms into AP up. This materia is awesome because AP up will double your AP that you gain for anything. So I mean, like revival or life materia, revive materia. It takes a ton of time to level that up, but if you get AP up and you equip it with that, it definitely helps. So anyway, those are kind of my materias that I enjoyed equipping throughout the game. I'm sure there's more, and I probably missed some. I know in my first 3 playthrough, I missed Chocobo Moogle, which was sad because I mean not really. Moving on to summons, Ifrit, Shiva. I did get all the bonus ones: Cactuar, Chocobo Chick, and Carbuncle. Those were all great additions. I did not, and I'm going to kick myself, but I did not get Leviathan and Bahamut through my first playthrough. I plan on getting them again. I'm playing through it now again currently. But those, Ifrit and Shiva are amazing. I got Fat Chocobo. I don't really care about that one all that much. Cactuar was pretty cool. Definitely Carbuncle was awesome. I had that one equipped early on in the game for a while. So those were all great summons, and they worked out really well. I'm sure Leviathan and Bahamut are great too. I just didn't go through the effort in my first playthrough to get them, but I will definitely get them on my second. I've already told myself that I need to do that because I'm a dumbass. All right, so the second thing I want to talk about post-game is hard mode. Hard mode is dumb, in my opinion. I mean, it's cool that you get to carry everything over and you get to do all that, but you don't get to use items. But yet the game still gives you items. It's so dumb. It's like, okay, so I started to play through the first reactor, and you can't use items at all. In battle, out of battle, anywhere. You can't. But yet when you go to chests in the game, you get items in hard mode. So it's almost like, why am I bothered? Like, I could, like, if the chest actually gave you, like, HP and MP instead of the items, that would make a lot more sense because then you would still be getting something from it. But right now you're collecting items and you're like, I'm not going to do anything with these because I can't even use them. I got to chapter 2 in hard mode, and I mean, it didn't keep my interest at all. I'd much rather play on normal and use and be able to use my items. So I mean, hard mode was okay. I mean, as I said, there were parts of it that were a little bit more difficult, especially the guard scorpion. But really, it just didn't. I don't know. It didn't hold my interest very much. I don't know. And that's it. Final Fantasy VII, the remake, part 1, out and in your homes. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed my review. If you did, please give this a like. Please subscribe. I've got some other videos of Final Fantasy VII Classic that are out. Top 10 summons, materia. Check those out. And I think that's it. So thank you very much for watching, and take care of yourselves and each other.